All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm Mike Ham. We're here in Bloomfield, New Jersey at Varitage Brew Works with Mark Costa. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I think, and I live in Bloomfield and have now since January, this is our first Bloomfield episode.
Oh, wow.
I think that's true, which is really surprising with how much stuff is here.
There's a lot going on down here.
Yeah.
So we are honored to be the first one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we have some really cool neighbors. It's a good neighborhood.
Totally. This pizza place has become our pizza place.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Beer and pizza. Yeah,
forget it.
It's a good relationship we got.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so Varitage Brew Works. How long have you been open? What kind of things? We'll do like a kind of 30,000-foot view of what the brewery is all about.
Okay.
And kind of just like the theme of it.
Sure.
The kind of beers that you brew, and then we'll kind of get into the story of you and then how the whole place started.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary a couple weeks ago. It feels like 2 months, but at the same time, it feels like 6 years.
Yeah.
It just kind of happened in a blink of an eye. But it's been going great. Year one has been awesome. We love being part of the community here, and people are really enjoying it. Kind of the theme that we have is soccer. I was a high school player that grew up in Nutley, and then I went on to play college ball at Caldwell University, so I'm a local North Jersey guy.
Yeah.
And I also coach high school soccer at Belleville. So I wanted to tie in my two passions of soccer and beer and create this European industrial-esque cafe for a place for soccer fans to come hang out. And even if you're not a soccer fan, it's still a cool place to hang out. It's cozy. It's different. But we do have a lot of games here, a lot of cool collaborations with Red Bull supporters, and also open early for the Premier League games, and even the Portuguese games. So I am Portuguese.
Okay.
So we've started partnering with Pegasus Sporting Goods down on Ferry Street. They just opened up another location in Westfield. So we're kind of tapping into their crew as well. So we did a big Portuguese watch party between Porto and Benfica this weekend, which is awesome. So it brings in new people who maybe have never been to a brewery before, who are now like, hey, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it's been going really well. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but if you think about it, like soccer and beer are pretty big 1-2 punch. So it's been awesome, and I'm glad that, my two worlds could kind of collide.
Yeah, and I think and we're not going to get too down this rabbit hole because I know a lot of people have a lot of strong opinions about this, but some of the new regulations and stuff around breweries and being able to show live sporting events and all that kind of stuff. I mean, for something like this and what you're trying to do, that's a huge piece,
Yeah,
if you're not able to do it.
Yeah, that was scary, right? Because we opened up and the state was still in between this, hey, we don't know what we're going to do with your license yet, so here's a temporary permit. So we operated on a temporary, I think we just got our legit license maybe a couple months ago.
Sweet.
We were just open a year.
It's house money at that point.
Yeah, but it was scary. When we were building this place out, we knew that we wanted to have a big soccer theme. And one of the crazy regulations was that we couldn't have more than 2 TVs and they couldn't be bigger than 65 inches.
Yeah.
So that's why there's 2 TVs and there's 65 inches in here. And the whole soccer, the whole of private event, not private event, public event, sporting event, permits was terrifying because we knew we were going to have the Euro Cup going on this summer, and I knew that was going to be a kind of a big push as an intro, as one of the, probably the only New Jersey soccer-centric brewery, and that was going to be big for us, and I wasn't sure how that was going to go with all these regulations. Wait, I have to pick only 25 games? How am I going to do that? And we were open for every Euro Cup game, and it was such a cool experience because I would open up you see how the brewery is today.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're closed, and this is our office, so there's shit everywhere. But during Euro Cup, we kind of had to adapt to it, and I would try to get all the brewing done early in the week so that we could be ready for the game. And I'll never forget, parking my truck in the parking deck, walking around the bend, and then there's a line of Italians waiting at the door for me to open 2 hours before kickoff.
Hey, open the door.
Yeah, dude, they all had coolers in their hands. I'm like, oh God, what did they bring? But it was all homemade cured meats and breads and cheeses, and they just had a whole charcuterie, Italian charcuterie lineup and just yelling at the TV. And,
Yeah.
like, that's what it was about. You know, I grew up going to places like this with my dad, down in the Ironbound section, just watching games, and I kind of wanted to bring that feel here.
Yeah.
So it's working.
No, that's awesome. And I love that kind of, connected. Like
Yeah.
the dots connected, and then you finally were able to kind of like bring these two worlds like you're talking about together. Let's take your story a little bit more, though. So,
Sure.
grew up in Nutley.
Yep.
Obviously, soccer, a big part of your life. Also, you told me off mic before we started, musician,
Yeah.
too. So, music, soccer, that's like what young Mark was getting himself into.
Young Mark was soccer all through college, and then literally the day after the soccer season ended, it was like, all right, now I'm going all in on this music thing. So hit the road. I was on tour I did the whole touring thing for about 2 years, living in a van, traveling the country.
Yeah.
Touring the Northeast near Canada in the winter. Like, wouldn't suggest that for everybody.
No, I lived in Rochester for
okay.
I played college baseball and then coached college baseball for
Okay.
5 years after I graduated.
Yeah,
One of the
yeah.
schools I worked at was up in Rochester. So no, I agree with that.
Yeah. And I mean, we get
Those lake effect snowstorms are just like
Yeah,
oh God, here
and
comes 4 feet of snow.
Right, and then every day it would just follow you. It's
Yeah.
like, I remember being on tour with a band from LA who's probably never seen snow before.
Yeah.
They were there in like van slip-ons. I'm like, you guys got to go to Walmart and get some boots because it's going to be a rough
What's
one.
a boot?
Yeah, exactly. But did that for a while, and we could, even do a whole podcast on that crazy story.
Yeah.
But long story short, kind of ran out of money.
one does,
Had to
yeah.
pay bills, wanted to settle down with my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife. So I needed to get a big boy job. So I started working in advertising.
Okay.
So that's kind of where my professional journey was, through out-of-home advertising. So for a while, I was doing all the ads on the train stations here,
Okay.
all on the buses in New Jersey Transit. Then I switched to the digital world. So I kind of got a good grasp on marketing strategies, and media to kind of build a brand, right?
Yeah.
So
That's interesting.
So you got the whole DIY kind of mindset from being in a band. That's where I learned graphic design. So T-shirt designs, flyer designs, how to kind of build a grassroots program and build a following.
Yeah.
And then to the corporate world in advertising, first and out of home, and then the digital, how to market yourself, how to budget, and really kind of build a brand and marketing strategy. And I did that for about 10 years, commuting to the city. I actually used to take this train every day, and so I watched them build the building that we're in right now.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was kind of a full circle moment.
Yeah.
Once we signed the lease here, it was really cool. And then one day I was just like, I'm done. I started brewing at home once I got done with touring, because from going from city to city, you kind of get exposed to, there's different beer than Bud Light Platinum. And yeah.
It's very
And
specific.
I remember some of the guitar player in my band, who's now actually the sales rep at Seven Tribesmen, Casey. I used to make fun of him going to the liquor store on the road and just buying these quirky ass beers. Like, what is that? Like, what are you drinking? And then I was like, all right, maybe you're on to something. So I got exposed to different beers from being on the road, from touring. Came home, and then I was like, I just kind of want to make beer for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm also Italian, so growing up in Nutley, of course I'm Italian.
Sure.
So we would do big holidays and Sunday dinners every Sunday. So as an Italian, you kind of always bring something with you.
Yeah,
Whether it's
you don't show up
food
empty-handed.
you never show up empty-handed. So my thing was beer. So I would start brewing beer for my family, and then it just snowballed. So it started on my stovetop at home in our apartment in Bloomfield, and then we bought a house that has a detached garage, and then I started building a brewery out there. Then there's this whole underground competition circuit for home brewing. So I just started shipping beer all over the country.
Yeah.
So it'd start on one style, and then once it won a couple gold medals, then I'd shelf it and say, okay, that one's good because people have different beer tastes in different regions of the country. If everybody likes it, then it must be pretty okay.
Sure.
So then I'd move on to a different style. So I did that for a couple of years. And then the one thing that kind of jump-started it was I won Best of Show in a competition outside of Chicago for our Amber Ale, which was the first beer that we brewed here. And they invited me to go out and ramp up the batch on their commercial system.
Oh, cool.
So I think they thought I was from Illinois, and I said, no, I'm from Jersey, but just give me a couple of weeks and I'll get out there. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, yes. So my wife, Katie, and I, we flew out there, brewed that amber ale, and that was the first day I worked in a commercial brewery. On the trip home, I was like, Katie, like, this is what I want to do. Like, I just, I want to make beer.
Yeah.
So advertising is pretty competitive, especially in the digital ad tech space.
Sure.
And I was just kind of tired of commuting. So one day on the beach, Katie was like, quit, go work for a brewery. And then I applied, and within a week, Jersey Girl hired me.
Yeah.
So I joined their production team and just wanted to cut my teeth in the commercial side before. It was always my plan to open up, but I wanted to learn, like hands-on
The
learning.
business side of it and all that.
Yeah, and Chuck at Jersey Girl was just so welcoming, and he was like, I respect that you told me that you want to open up a brewery. He's like, I'll help you. Anything you need, I'll help you. And it happened.
Yeah. That's really cool because I think that, like, I love stories like that because, like, I was selling insurance up until about a year ago, and we were doing this just kind of like as a hobby, but then also started kind of like moving it into a business and then different, but I got laid off.
Right.
But I had already signed my contract with the lottery. We already done like a lot of really cool things at that point. It was like, all right, like my fiance was like, just go for it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, like, who cares? Like, we'll go do something else.
Right. That's the most important part that people don't really focus on is like a support system, right?
Yeah.
Like a partner.
Like literally the most important
Like
thing.
my wife literally sat on the beach and told me quit.
Yeah.
Like I was making a lot of money in New York City.
Yeah.
Crazy benefits. But it was just, I wasn't happy. And she saw that, so thank you, Katie.
Yeah. Shout out Katie.
Yeah.
Okay. So you quit. I have a question too. So like when you're brewing and you're bringing your beers to your family functions before you even start shipping them out to, I think like that's kind of the way that you learn if you have good product or not, or you're making good stuff. Was there ever just am I sure that these people are telling me that this stuff is good because it's like, if I said stuff to like my grandma or my mom, they're like, wow, this is so good. I'm so proud of you, like stuff like that. But was it more just like they liked it and you knew that they were going to give you an honest
little
answer?
bit of both.
Yeah.
But if you know my family, like they have no filter.
Sure.
Like old school Jersey Italians.
Which are like the best group, the best test group.
Right.
The best test
I
group.
mean, it was kind of working in my favor, right? Like some of the beers are like, nah, this is gross.
Yeah.
Like my mom hates beer.
Sure.
So like she was the worst taste tester.
Yeah.
She's like, ugh, like the faces that she would make. But yeah, I knew that, the competition route was the way to get the true kind of grade on the beer, right? Because I don't know these people. They don't know me. The submissions are anonymous, so if they like it, they like it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like the family and friends, like they genuinely like it. And if they didn't, they would tell me.
Totally.
Like, it's my circle. There's not any filters there.
Well, you need that too.
Yeah.
We talk about support systems. I mean, that's a big piece of the support system too.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many years do you do at Jersey Girl? 2, I think you said?
Yeah, about 2 years.
Yeah. And like you said, the whole time, or like, even when you started there was always this notion that this was going to be a business for you. Like you were going to open up your own place.
And honestly, like my plan was to be at Jersey Girl a lot longer.
Okay.
This kind of fell in my lap.
Yeah.
And it just like speeded up way faster than I expected it to. So what happened was I was still brewing at home. So it was crazy. I was driving up to Jersey Girl is like an hour commute there and back.
Yeah. We did like a whole punk rock karaoke thing there recently. I didn't actually do it, but like we were there.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It's
a really
but it
cool
is
spot.
a ride up that way.
Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah.
But then I would still brew at home on the weekends because that's what I love to do.
Yeah.
So I remember I was out there in the garage, kind of putzing around. My neighbors have a wraparound porch, so they had some people over. And one of the women who were there at their like porch party was like, "What is that kid doing back there?" And my neighbor Jill was saying, "Oh, that's Mark. He makes his own beer." She's like, "What?" Like, yeah, and he wants to open up a brewery one day in Bloomfield. So the person that turned out to be was Councilwoman Jenny Mundell, who's now the mayor-elect in Bloomfield. So she hopped the fence, came over.
Yeah.
And so I gave her a tour of the little home brewery. Told told her my story, what I wanted to do. And granted, I never met this woman in my life. We're having some beers and talking. And then within a week, she texts me. She's like, here's my number. Give me your number. She texts me a week later, and she's like, can you come down to the town hall for a council meeting? We have this on the agenda. We want to bring a brewery to Bloomfield. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, Katie, this is happening.
Yeah.
And I went to Chuck. I'm like, just full transparency. This is what's happening. The town wants to talk, like, so in a public forum. So basically, we sat down with the town, created the Bloomfield ordinance to allow craft breweries to come here, because there is general gray area state law, and then it's up to the local municipalities on how they kind of want to manage breweries.
Sure.
So you could waive zoning, you could change zoning. So the mayor at the time, Mike Venezia, he was like, how do I get this downtown? And I was like, well, you got to do this. He's like, done. So they waived like the light industrial zoning, rezoned a couple blocks in town, and said, pick one. And I was like, oh shit, this is happening.
Yeah.
You know? So I had to get like my business partner, Neil, up to speed with everything. He was there with me, and I was like, you ready? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So we started looking at properties, and I always knew I wanted to be here on Washington Street in this building, just because I watched them build it, and I knew what was going on down here.
Sure. And so why Bloomfield? Like I think you said, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me, but even before like that kind of chance encounter meeting, that like you wanted eventually one day to put up a brewery in Bloomfield. So like, why Bloomfield?
This is my hometown, and I just feel like owning a business, whatever it is, in your hometown just hits different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The mecca of like the home.
Like, I'm proud whenever I'm like walking my dog with my wife and my son, and like people are like, hey, like, oh, I love this beer. I love, like, that just feeling the community that you're in. It hits different. So I knew I always wanted that piece. And also the commute, my 3-minute commute is way better than any commute that I've ever had. So
well, I mean, I was getting ready today, and I was like a little bit behind schedule because I had some editing that I needed to finish, and I was like rushing, and I'm like, oh wait, it's like literally around the corner from where we are. So like, it's a good, good. Okay, so you get like the mayor changes different zones or whatever. You decide on this place. Take me through kind of like the early days, like the build out and all that, because that's like a big undertaking, I'm pretty sure, for a brewery. To like get all the equipment, and then with all the different regulations you have to go through, and then kind of leading up to the day one opening up the doors for people to actually come in here. Yeah.
So now we're entering the gauntlet.
Okay. I love the gauntlet.
The saga. Yeah. So there's a million steps that you need to do. You technically can't sign a lease until you have an LLC established and like a trademark and insurance, and so you have to bring lawyers on board and kind of get that. So that was step one, and that's where the word Varitage was born. My homebrew handle was Terra Costa Brewing Company. I always wanted to use that because it's my last name, and it kind of pays homage to our town in Azores, Portugal, where my family's from. And then when I went to go file with the feds, they said, no, you can't have that because there's a Terra Costantino wines is too close. So the government recognizes wineries, distilleries, breweries under the same umbrella, and you can't have a similar name. So I think I actually looked at another unit on Broad Street on the new development over there, and the guy ghosted me, and I lost the brand in the same day, and I was just crushed.
Like, this is not going to work.
So Katie was like, let's get out of here. Let's go down to Baltimore. Katie lived in Baltimore for a bit while I was touring. Let's just kind of clear your head and rethink it. And on that trip, that's where I came up with Varitage. So it's the word variety and the word heritage combined. So since I'm Italian, Portuguese, grew up North Jersey, those are my various heritages. And then we could tie in the story through all those. That's what Varitage means.
Cool.
Variety of heritages. So we got that, and then got the LLC done, and then we could sign a lease. So negotiations with the landlords actually wasn't terrible. A couple back and forth, because they give you a cookie-cutter contract, so you have to really read it. And I kind of learned from everybody else's mistakes of, like, horror stories. So us brewers, like, we're tight, So, like, if you need anything, you just call and ask. So I spent a lot of time with Steve down at Ghost Hawk.
Love Steve.
Yeah, great guy.
Going
Steve
there
actually,
this afternoon,
yeah, Steve actually, when he was getting ready to open, he had asked me to be their head brewer.
Oh, really?
But I wasn't ready at the time. I was like, I'm not ready. So when we opened, like, I know I'm kind of jumping, but he came down, had a beer with me here. He was like, now you're ready. I'm like, yeah. So just kind of like learning from everybody's stories and meeting with all the brewers in the state and kind of being in the industry for 2 years, kind of learn how to navigate those types of contracts and seeing what works, what doesn't work, what you really should ask for, and not be scared to ask for it. So we got a good contract in there, signed the lease. So in this space, there was nothing in here. There was no drywall, no electric, no water. So they owed me no HVAC. They owed me utilities before they could hand the space over to us to start our construction.
The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes.
Looking to buy, sell, or rent in Monmouth or Ocean counties? Megan Carroll of RE/MAX Elite brings local expertise and personalized service. Megan will make your real estate process smooth and stress-free. Bringing Southern hospitality to the Jersey Shore, call Megan today at 732-508-7402 or visit her website at mcsellsbythesea.com.
So we signed the lease, said, okay, there's like, they have 60 days or whatever to hand over the space. So I'm like, okay, this is happening. Let's order the equipment, order all the equipment. And then we just waited and waited and waited. And then I'm like, guys, what's going on? I talked to a lawyer, and he's like, we got to get more aggressive here. So we reached out. We're like, what's the deal? So then they finally came back. Well, actually, the first time we said, what's the deal, they said, you get started on some things. I'm like, cool, I got to cut the floors. So it was St. Patrick's Day 2022, I think. Yeah, 2022 St. Patrick's Day. Cut the trench drains in here. So I was like, all right, we're doing something. This is cool.
Yeah.
And there was so much rebar in this floor. It was crazy. So that got done. I said, okay, we did the trench drain work. When are you guys going to come? So then they reached out again, and they said, so you could either sue us or wait for the new owners because we just sold our entire portfolio.
Oh, my God.
So I was like, what? I didn't know what to do then. So that led to 8 months dead in the water.
Ugh.
But the crazy thing happened was, like, my wife was pregnant at the time, so my son came. So I got to spend the first year of my son's life home with them.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
Sure.
Because the way that we were projected to open, like the week he was born.
Okay.
And that would have been chaos.
Yeah, right.
And,
yeah.
I mean, it's already chaos.
Yeah.
But, like, add a layer of a newborn in there, being a dad for the first time, like, no thanks, pass. So the universe kind of worked out that way. So then new owners came on board, and they're like, wait, what are you doing here? I'm building a brewery. I need you to do this. We're like, oh, okay. So they wanted to outsource their contracts to a company in Boston. So then the guy from Boston had to come down here and then hire all Jersey licensed craftsmen.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, I have an entire team here. I have plumbers, electricians, like general contractor. Just use my guys, and they wouldn't.
Yeah.
So that took a little bit longer. And then they finally started working. But the beauty of, like, being in town is that I came down here and watched them every day.
Yeah.
Checking it on. Because they were trying to cut corners. This is corporate landlords.
Sure.
I put my air handlers in the wrong place. I'm like, do you guys even have my drawings? They're like, no. I'm like, here's my drawing. So then they had to move the air handlers, and then they ended up giving me, I won't go on and on about every detail, but they gave me half the electric that I needed.
Yeah.
Because that's a full electric system. So I was like, I'm not waiting for you guys. I'm going to front the cash, and you guys pay me. It's like, my guy's doing it because I don't trust you guys.
Yeah, seriously.
So then it worked out, and then they finally handed us over the space, but we had a lot of work to do. Like, we had to finish all the trench drain work. Then they wanted us to reinforce the floor, so we had to put rebar, 2 layers of rebar every 12 inches throughout the whole trench drain.
Yeah.
Went everywhere because we ran electrical conduit underneath. So we did that, and then we had to pour a whole new floor because I wanted all the floors to be slanted towards the drain so we wouldn't have drainage issues. And then we had to drywall everything and build the cold box and build the bathrooms and that platform, get the equipment in here. So it took a while.
Yeah.
So I think it was like Neil knows the exact number of days.
It sounds like a lot of days.
It's like 2 years.
That's crazy.
But we negotiated no rent until we opened. I was like, no way. I'm not giving you a dime.
Yeah, right. For nothing.
Yeah. So then they got out of our way, and then we started brewing. So the first beer we did was that Amber Ale.
Sure.
That started the story. So it was the first commercial beer ever to be brewed in Bloomfield. That beer is called Nico, and that's my son's name.
Okay.
So I knew that I wanted to open with enough beer, because another horror story I've heard about other breweries just opening and running out of beer.
Yeah.
So we opened with 6 beers. So I brewed for a good 2 months before we opened.
Sure.
Made sure we were ready, ramped up the staff, and we opened, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was like everyone that day, I just remember them asking me, like, so how's it feel? I'm like, I don't know, man. I've been working on this project for 2 years.
You just come up for air finally.
This is just another day at the office.
Yeah.
Just people are here now. This is cool. Yeah, so it felt good. And then that year one was just, it was a lot of trial and error and seeing what worked, seeing what didn't work, seeing what our busy seasons were, what our slow seasons were.
Sure.
And some of that data was different than what we expected, but now we know.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of guessing of what every month was going to bring. So it was exciting but terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
So year 2 definitely feels way better because I know what beers were a hit. So we'll bring them back, and then we'll just kind of build on it. So we did 36 different styles of beer in year 1, about 65 total brews on that system. So we're blowing through beer pretty quickly.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
I think that is something of the breweries that I like you mentioned Ghost Hawk, and there's a bunch of other ones that we've talked about just now. And the ones that I like, they have kind of the ones that they're always there, the
flagships.
Fan favorite. Yeah, the flagships.
Yeah.
That was I knew it started with an F, that's why I said fan favorite. But then trying new things, and going places and being oh, what is this? And try that and find a beer that I never knew that I actually did like.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that's what craft breweries exist for.
Yeah.
And then that's what keeps you coming back.
Sure.
If it's the same beers every single time, it might as well be a Bud Light Platinum.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that was always part of the plan. So we do a new beer pretty much every 2 weeks or so, here and there. And we have our 2 flagships, the Locks and Plains, the American IPA, and Varitage Premium Pale Lager, which is our Czech-style lager on the side pour. So those are usually always here, and then we just kind of rotate everything else in and out. But year 2 is going to be weird, right? Because people always come in and ask, hey, where's this beer? I really like this one. I'm like, well, I'm kind of on to the next one. Maybe I'll do it again.
Sure.
So it's just kind of weeding out which beers were really kind of cult favorites.
Yeah.
And then what we can just kind of replace with something better.
Yeah. And I think the more you're doing stuff like that, it's you build a trust with your clientele that no matter what it is, it may not be the exact same one, but here, try this, give it a shot.
Right.
You know that we're going to do good stuff, so why not try this beer here?
Right.
So let's talk also about, because we mentioned off mic, I think, but we're as on the story, the topic of beers, talking about different collab beers that you've done. Because there's one that's coming out in December, and this episode is going to come out in a week. A week from today, it'll be out.
Okay.
So this episode will be out, I think, before that beer even comes out, or if it's
probably right before.
Okay.
So it's the week of Thanksgiving is when everything's going to be ready.
Okay.
So this was a popular one that came out last year. I just kind of I actually brewed this at home first with the same setup.
Sure.
So it's with Holsten's chocolate. I love Holsten. So at home in the garage brewery for Christmas, I wanted to do a Christmas beer. Got a bunch of their chocolate and made a mint peppermint bark porter with their chocolate. My friends loved it.
Yeah.
So I knew that I needed a Christmas beer. This was going to be it. So I called Chris over at Holsten's, who owns Holsten's. I said, hey, I have this idea. He's like, yeah, I'll bring you chocolate. So he just gives me all this chocolate. And I whipped up the batch, and I bottled it in 22-ounce bomber bottles, and I couldn't keep up. People were buying it by the case. I was like, yes, this is what we wanted. But then there would be nights where we would close the brewery, and I'd be in here 10:30, 11 o'clock doing more bottles because we ran out.
Yeah.
So I also knew this year I wanted to brew it a little bit earlier because it came out kind of right before Christmas last year. But people liked it so much that we did a beer festival in September, and they came to the booth and they were asking, "Hey, when's Holidays on Broad Street coming out?"
Yeah.
It's like, guys, it's September. Like, we gotta get through Oktoberfest beers first, and let's come down for Oktoberfest.
Sure.
Like, it's not Christmas yet. So
Yeah.
we're
They might be playing Christmas music places, but it's not Christmas yet.
right. Yeah, so we double batched it this year. We're gonna can a full batch of it, just because I can't keep up with the bottles.
Sure.
And then let it rip. So the town actually lets us use that lot. I think we were talking about this. You came down for the anniversary
party.
So we have it's back to the craft beer in Jersey regulations is we have 25 off-premise permits per year to use. So that basically carries over our insurance, our license to sell and serve beer within that space. It's got to be closed off, and the permitting process is kind of crazy. But we created a cookie cutter permit approval process with the town. It's like, guys, it's super easy. This is something we want to do, and we did that. And after Oktoberfest, I think in 4 hours we poured 900 beers.
Oh my God!
We were slammed.
Yeah,
it was awesome. Like, because Bloomfield does a great job doing Harvest Fest down here.
Sure.
So all Washington Street was shut down. Glenwood was shut down. And there was food trucks and live music, and it was great. So after that, the town came to me and they're like, "This is amazing." Even like the head detective who's in charge, he's a liaison with the ABC. And he said, "Dude, you should do this like once a week in the summer." I said, "Yes, that's the point."
Yeah.
So people were kind of confused in town at first of like, how come Varitage is using this rock lot? Well, the town owns it. It's technically a park. So I pitched it to them like, I have these permits. Can I use them for that park and just bring people down to the center? And they're like, yeah, give it a shot. So now they're on board. So we did Oktoberfest, the anniversary. Now we're going to do our Christmas market. So we're collaborating with all of our neighbors here on Washington Street. We'll have the beer garden out there with heat lamps. Got the town to approve that too. We'll have the Holidays on Broad Street out there. Thinking about doing some mulled beer, like warm spiced beer out there. Some hot chocolate, coffee, and then we'll have food from Anthony's out there. Rare Breed MMA is going to have a Santa Claus, and then just craft vendors. So you come down here, grab some gifts for the family, drink some beer, eat some food, and hang out. So we'll deck out the whole lot with Christmas lights and kind of do that. So the BCA, Bloomfield Center Alliance, used to do a holiday hunt down here, but I heard that they weren't doing it this year. So we talked to all our neighbors, the other businesses. I was like, guys, you want to do something for Christmas? Like, I'll get the lot. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. So that's why I love this block. It's like we're always trying to do something different down here and work together. And so that'll be hopefully the first of many Christmas markets out there on the corner. And then eventually the town's plan is to clean that lot up and make it kind of a cultural center, right? Of like landscape it real nice, maybe have a bandstand out there, and they want to do a big mural on that wall and kind of dress it up.
Yeah.
So the beer garden, I call it the rock lot now. I'm cool with it, but it's going to look a lot nicer in the next couple of years.
No, that's awesome. And like that is one of the things, like you talk about the neighbors and all the stuff that goes on down here. Like we were at the anniversary party and the things you're talking about kind of in the future. But like with Harvest Fest and like all these other things where it's like the Fridays in the summer, right?
Dinner
it's like
the stars.
The whole block shut down. They have bands and like whatever. We brought the dog down, we ate pizza, we drank beers. Like it was phenomenal. And I think like that is, I don't know if it's like unique. Like I'm sure there's other places that have something like that, but it's just like a great thing for this town to have, especially like with all the cool things that are happening downtown in Bloomfield right now. And like having you kind of as like a big part of that, I think is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a transitional period down here for many years, and a lot of the old timers in town hate it because it's all new construction, and like on paper it looks like shit, right? Like there's all these high-rise apartments, luxury apartments, and it looks like little Brooklyn down here now.
And kind of like almost pushing out like little storefronts like this in a sense.
They'll never knock down this side. This side is like super charming. I love looking at like all the fire escapes and the brick and the facades. But it kind of, they're doing a good job keeping some old things, bringing in a lot of new things. The town needed a shake up, and they needed to compete with the other towns around. Like look at Montclair. Like you're going to lose all your business to Montclair if you don't step up and bring local businesses down here. So now we're starting to see a boom of local businesses, unique businesses. Like we just got an arcade at the end of the block.
I know. Someone just told me that, like another guy that I know that lives in Bloomfield, and I was like, an arcade? Like that's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's coming together, and the town just got a grant to fix up the train station, so that's going to be all redone. So once all this construction is done, like now we can compete.
Yeah.
You know, with all the other Essex County downtowns to be kind of a destination for people to come check out.
Yeah.
And I think opening the brewery definitely helped that because when you open a brewery the first couple of weeks, we got people in here from upstate New York, Cape May County, Pennsylvania. Like they travel.
Like brewery fans. Or whatever. Yeah.
So introduce a lot of people to the downtown area and explain, hey, you know, we're in a transitional period, but once all this gets done, like this is going to be the spot to be in.
Yeah, totally. And I love it. And I love that this is part of that and like it just kind of helps propel the whole story of everything. Like the Bloomfield larger story, but then obviously like the story that we're telling with Varitage and you and all that kind of stuff. So when kind of like looking down the road, like obviously like, you know, we mentioned like Christmas markets and different things. What are some things maybe for the brewery itself and kind of the brand overall that you're hoping to kind of, you know, just continuing to brew and grow the business and grow the community and all that kind of stuff? Or are there things, you know, kind of other things that you're working on too?
Yeah, so we're still trying to build the soccer culture here. It takes time, but it's picking up. Like doing all the watch parties with the big projector partnership that we have with Backyard Cinemas. So that's number one because we got to get ready for the World Cup.
Yeah.
And then two is bolstering distribution, but not going crazy with it. Just kind of in the sense of, hey, we're spreading the word. Let's spread out a little bit, and then hopefully bring people out here.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, 5 years ago, the whole distro game was, hey, you got to be a regional brewery, get bigger, and have as many accounts as you can. It's not really the sense of the industry right now. It's because the margins are really low, but it's more of a marketing play. And brand awareness play. And then Matt, who we hired, is now our sales rep and brand manager who's helping us grow our brand to other markets, spreading out into Bergen County, a little bit of Hudson County, just kind of spreading the word in our story.
Yeah.
So that's year two. And then just kind of hammering home the traditions that we've built here. I'm a big guy on traditions. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So we have like Boxing Day is a big one for us. Day after Christmas, a lot of soccer games. Building up the Christmas market, building on the Dinner Under the Stars events on Friday nights out here, establishing ourselves in the rock lot.
Yeah,
as
rock lot. Hey,
we're under 1,500 square feet in here, and we do get pretty crowded, but we do now have an opportunity to have an outdoor space. So that's really going to kind of change things for us this summer.
Yeah.
Summers are slower around here because everyone's down the shore.
Right. People go away.
Yeah. And without an outdoor space, like whoever's still here wants to be outside.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that this year, but next year that's going to be different for us. Just kind of spreading the word and learning as we go.
That's awesome. And like the thing I love about kind of like this whole story and you talking about, like we mentioned, like kind of continuing the story forward of just like not just you and the brewery, but Bloomfield overall. Like obviously Bloomfield is like a super historic town in the state of New Jersey. And one thing I like about all the stuff that we've talked about and kind of, you know, your mindset on all this stuff is like, obviously things are moving forward, but there is kind of like this connection still to the past and like being able to work with the people in the town and like your neighbors and your businesses and all that kind of stuff. Like I think that to me is like really what, like when I put this show together like over 3 years ago, it was like kind of, those are the stories that we want to tell.
Right.
You know, because there's this like huge juxtaposition with like, you know, historical towns just abandoning all of that and kind of like going down their own new road, which is fine, I guess. But like there is an important thing about keeping that connection too.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the base of our story, right? So my dad came to the country in 1968 from Portugal. We actually have a new Pilsner coming out called the 1968 New Jersey Style Pilsner. So we're doing that kind of in honor of him coming over. And the funny thing is, like, growing up, my dad was like, oh, I want to go back. Like, I hate it here.
Yeah.
Like, but then as I got older, I kind of thought about it. Like, hey, man, this guy got pulled from his home into an environment that, he really didn't know what to do in. Like my dad didn't speak English when he came here, just because my grandfather wanted a better life for his family.
Sure.
Right? So then I got pretty, I guess it was during the pandemic. I think everybody did. Got real into, checking out their ancestry and seeing where you came from.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We did that with my 90-year-old grandparents.
Yeah. So it just got me a lot thinking, and that was when I was developing the Varitage brand of, well, what do I want to represent, right? And then I thought a lot about my grandfather kind of taking that gamble and bringing everybody over here, and my dad's reaction to it of, what the hell is this shit? But then you got to realize, hey, it trickled down to me.
Yeah.
Right? And this whole concept of the American dream is still real. It just takes a little hustle and kind of sidetracking and a good support system like we talked about.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to honor that commitment and that sacrifice that they made when they came here to, it skipped a generation, but now I'm here and I could cash in on it.
Yeah.
Of, hey, I make beer, coach soccer for a living, and that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So I always paid homage to that and my family, even on the Italian side. Same story, and that's a lot of people's story growing up here.
Yeah.
Immigrants coming in, being first generation, and kind of being the first ones to graduate college and have these opportunities of starting your own business, being an entrepreneur. So that was always close to my heart, and I think it shows. And when people come in here, look at all the pictures of my family and where we came from, and just kind of paying honor to that.
Yeah, totally. If people are listening to this episode and they want to learn more or come check out the place, where would you send them to go do that?
So I would say go on Instagram. Varitage Beer is our handle, or varitagebeer.com. Sign up for our newsletter. I do a newsletter once a week and I get into a little bit more details about the stories behind the beers, what's coming up, what events we have, kind of do a match day rundown of what soccer games are going to be on. So all the information basically comes through there, and we also have an app in the App Store, Google Play, and the Apple Store,
cool.
which is
Varitage
Brew Works. Yeah. So we do special deals for app members, and then there's push notifications. So dealing with Instagram and Facebook algorithms, you may miss some things, but if you want to kind of have your finger on the pulse and see what's going on, sign up for the app, and then you get the push notifications, so you don't even have to look.
Amazing.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah, right. It'll pop right to your phone.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great, and I appreciate you taking the time out of a brew day, a production day, whatever you got going on here, to chat with me for a little while.
Sure, man.
Yeah.
And thanks for coming.
Absolutely. So we'll make sure that we put all the links, varitagebeer.com, Varitage Beer on Instagram, in the show notes. People just go click it, come check it out. Address?
58 Washington Street in Bloomfield, right by the train station.
Right by the train station. So we'll make sure we put that in there, too. Mark, thank you.
Hey, thanks, man.
Appreciate it. So this has been the Green Speak RSA podcast powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm Mike Ham. We were at Varitage Brew Works in Bloomfield, New Jersey with Mark Costa. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.